Hey everybody, this is session 4 of TPMS training. In this session here we're going to speak about, or I'm going to step you through currency, which can be found here on the left hand navigation panel of the TPMS tool. Okay, so industry relationship, click on that one. Now, one thing I just need to highlight to you before we start is you do not have to have something in every single one of these. Okay, currency can be demonstrated in a variety of ways with a variety of, and it could vary depending on vocation to vocation. So you do not need to have every single one of these checked off. How many? The question I always get, well, how many? What's the minimum amount? There is no minimum amount. It's around you being able to demonstrate currency and competency. The other thing that you need to be really aware of as well as educators at TAFE Queensland Southwest or at TAFE Queensland, you have to be a dual professional. What I mean by that, or if you haven't heard that term before, what that means is you have to be an expert and be current and competent in your vocational area, in addition to an expert and current and competent in the educational area as well. So you have to hold that dual expertise to be an educator in this space here. It's not just about thinking about your vocational thing, it's about thinking about the big picture. So in this currency space here, we need to put evidence of both of those. Just taking a step back as well, we have covered in content competency up here. You'll actually see a section called training courses, and also in assessment competency you'll actually see another section called training courses. You may wish to put your currency and competency up here, or you may wish to put it all down here. Look, as long as it's on TPMS, really doesn't matter. You need to know where it is though, so that if you're asked either by your faculty director or ETL or at an audit, for example, you can actually very clearly say, hey, look, I saved it all in this one spot. So as long as it's on TPMS, it's not a big deal, but you need to be able to demonstrate currency and competency. Okay, so taking a step up here to industry relationship. So this may or may not be relevant to you, but it records in this section here, you record any details of any industry relationships that you might have in your interactions with industry. An example I could possibly give you for that one would be, on the board of the the local commerce group could be one. It would vary from industry to industry. That's an example. So that's what you put in there. Again, you want to upload some evidence of that, because if you don't upload your evidence, chances are you could be asked for it anyway. Okay, industry release, second section here. When we're talking about industry release, or with this section, this is the part that's actually the formal industry release. So this isn't you going off to, work in your business, or isn't you going off to work in somebody else's business and that's just what you do. That's another form of employment. This is specifically around industry release, and industry release, when it's done through the region here, is quite a formalised process. So you would have had a conversation with your faculty director or ETL. So let me take a step back and I'll give you an example. So earlier on in these sessions, I talked about thermal straightening in relation to me as a hairdresser, and when I was an apprentice, that was something that I didn't do because it wasn't there. It didn't exist at that time. So that now is a core component of what we teach students in many salons in our region. So therefore, as an educator, I need to be able to, I can't go, oh, sorry, Catherine, I don't have that skill, so therefore I can't deliver it. It's my responsibility as an educator to determine how I can build that skill. So Catherine and I might have a conversation, and she might suggest, hey, how about you go back to industry to build that skill set? So this is a very formal approach. I would have a training plan aligned to it. I would have had a conversation with Catherine and all my ETLs, and there would be a start date, an end date, an employer who's been contacted, and whatnot. So you would actually upload your evidence in this space here of the training plan that you're doing for that. So this might not be relevant to everybody, but for those of you that it is relevant to, this is the formal approach. Section 3, which is workplace contacts or visits. Many of you in your capacity as educators go out into industry quite frequently, either to train on the job or to view students in the workplace. Could be for assessment or for follow-up for a variety of reasons. At those times, it's a perfect opportunity to engage with the employer. So again, I'll give you the same example again. So I've gone out to visit apprentice A at salon XYZ. And while I'm out there, I see the employer or see staff doing this really great new technique I've never seen before. I ask what it is. She says thermal straightening. It's the latest, greatest thing she's brought back from wherever. I'm very excited about it. So I come back, I tell my colleagues, I make sure it's minuted at my team meeting, and that we're putting something in place, that we're actually going to pursue this, follow it, upskill ourselves, whatever it happens to be. That's the sort of information that you would capture around workplace visits. And you would actually, the evidence could be a record of conversation with the employer or your team minutes from your team meeting. It would not be, you would not put in here, even though, and I'll just hover over this here, nature of contact could have been that you're going out to assess students on the job. You would not put, for example, oh yes, I saw student A perform activities X, Y, and Z, and they're competent. This is about you, not about your students. Okay, so this is about you demonstrating currency and how you're going to capture that evidence. So it's about what is it that you're going to do with these new, great, and exciting things that you see. Seminars and courses, as I noted just a little bit earlier, you could either have this saved up here in training courses under content competency, training courses under assessment competency, or you might just save all of it under here, or you might, as you're ongoing every 6 months, when you're updating your TPMS, just adding into this space. It is up to you as long as it's somewhere. It's important though that there is a description of what this is. There's also important that there's evidence of what this is as well. As I noted before, if you have attended Vet PD Week or any of the Vet Educator Weeks that we have, Vet Educator PD Days that we have, that will give you the opportunity to demonstrate educational currency, and you could very easily put some details in here around what it was that you did and upload the program guide or the days or whatever, or even the sign-in sheet if you really want to get down to that sort of detail. The other thing I need to highlight as well is when you're uploading evidence, it needs to be particularly for accredited or recognised qualifications like your bachelor degrees or your vet qualifications or your trade certs. They need to be accredited. They need to be recognised by a JP. You can upload prior, like without the JP sign off if you just want to get it up there, but you will need to have a JP sign them off at some point. Okay. Professional affiliations. This could be any professional membership groups that you're part of in relation to your role as an educator, or also as a content expert in your vocational area. So you could be a member of your industry professional learning committee, so your PLC, so you might be the chair for that, or the lead for that, so for your region, so you could pop that in here as well. That will then give you evidence of showing that you are participating in not only discussions around content but also around educational practice as well. So that's a good one to put in there. As you can see, mine's quite old because back then I was a SPIG member, which was even before Talons. Next one, professional reading. So professional reading is a really important one. You could have a variety of things put in here. You could have publicational journals, you could have books, whatnot, any of those sorts of things that can show you, A, that you are demonstrating currency and vocation, but you also might do a lot of reading about flip learning, those sorts of things as well. That can also give you evidence for your educational currency as well. Somebody did ask me at a previous session, what about podcasts, those sorts of things, and they are, that is the technology that we're using these days. There isn't an actual tag on the side there in the navigation panel that actually refers directly to podcasts. So I would just suggest that you might actually put it still in here, call it a podcast, call it the date that was issued. It was issued, it was uploaded by the ABC on blah, 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 whatever the name of it was. And put the date in here. So that's one way that you could capture that. So any of those important readings or watchings that you might do in relation to your currency and competency, both in your vocational area and educational area, that's where you save this here. Trade demonstrations. Many of you go along to trade demonstrations, so upload that, pop it in here. This is probably not a really great example. I should have some more details around that there. Hair Expo tends to be the standard for hairdressers. Beauty Expo the same for beauty therapists. One thing that you need to remember though is that saying that you go to Hair Expo and holding a trade qualification alone would not be sufficient to say that you have currency and competency in that vocational area. So really think about what is it that you require to capture to show that you are current in that space. Industry liaison, excuse me, again, similar to industry relationship, records and details of input and validation from industry liaisons in relation to learning and assessment strategies. So it could be where you've spoken to industry around, say, the methodologies that you've used or the structure of your program. You can pop some details in there. Evidence could be record of conversation. I would be guessing that that's the sort of evidence that you would capture so that you could bring that back and share that with your team to evidence why you're doing things in a certain way. International experience, pretty obvious what that is. So if you've been working overseas, could be in your vocational area or also in your educational area, and feel the need to capture that evidence in this space here, that's what you pop in this spot here too. So so that's all the information there for currency. Next session we'll be looking at qualifications, teaching and matrix links. Thanks very much. Bye.